My little brother is actually my fiance's kid. Yes, the title is messed up, I'm aware. My fiance and I have been together since we were 17 and 18 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything just so shocking for me. I have always had a good relationship with my mom. It has always been her and me against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. We always joked that we are the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off, and they were usually cool, but nothing ever really progressed past the early stages. Around 4 years ago, my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old, and although she was sort of dating someone recently, it was still a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age, and I could tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her since she has always supported me and tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I have helped take care of him since he was born, and I just love the little guy. My fiance was also always helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, to the playground, pool time during summer, etc. But nothing felt weird. He was just my then boyfriend, spending time with my brother and me. Now, to how I found out. My fiance and I have lived together since we finished college. My fiance was not at home since he was hanging out with friends, but I was home because I didn't feel like going out and just wanted to chill on my sofa. At some point during binge watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died and I was too lazy to go get my charger, so I just took my fiance's iPad. I know the password, but honestly never used it before. The iPad logged in and I got a bunch of messages pinging. Anyway, this got my attention, so I went to check it out, and of course I found everything. My mom's number wasn't under her name, but I recognized the number and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty but couldn't lose me and that they f***ed it up. She said that it was unfair for my brother to never know his dad and that if he could live having his son around without behaving like a dad but as a brother-in-law. I broke down. There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't take it anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages while waiting for my boyfriend to come back home. I wish I were one of those women who can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation open. I watched his face go completely pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? He didn't want to at first, but knew he had to. Apparently, a few years back while I was traveling with some friends, my fiance and mom had dinner together. Somehow, one thing led to another and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty, but apparently not guilty enough because they slept together 2 or 3 more times under the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently, when my mom got pregnant, they stopped sleeping together and decided not to tell me since my fiance loved me and couldn't lose me, while my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now with 2 of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke off the engagement, told my mom never to talk to me again, and moved in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now. I just can't. It reminds me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama, only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17 years old, so I want to puke every time I think about how I was actually taking care of his child with someone else while still having those dreams. I want to puke. This is just wild. I agree with the steps that OP has already taken in cutting off ties to her mom and her partner, but to be honest, I don't know what she should even do from here. Every decision will probably have a very negative outcome for OP. Both people are utter trash, but I can't help but hate the mother more. User Nikki PJ said, "My mother also slept with my husband. It was devastating at the time. I just want you to know that you will get through this and you will be okay. You will build a wonderful life without your mom or your ex. I have. A mother who will do that to her daughter is not normal. I also want to share something that a counselor told me while I was going through it. I don't know if you're feeling the same, but I felt so much shame at being cheated on, at cutting my mother off, at feeling so much anger toward them, and at failing in my marriage. It's not your your fault. You did nothing wrong, and you did nothing to deserve it. I hope you see this comment in the flood of responses you are getting. Be gentle with yourself. User Zealous Ideal Wolf said, I would leave them behind and never look back. You deserve so much better and you will find better. Don't waste another minute of your time on them. When your little brother gets older, I'd explain to him exactly why you walked away, because he also deserves to know what kind of parents he has and why you had no choice but to abandon him for the time being. I'm sure he'd understand. I'm so sorry that your mom betrayed you this way. I hope you have a really good support system to help you get through this awful time. It's bad enough when a friend does something like this, but I can't imagine how it feels when it's your own mother. Update. First, I want to thank everyone for the nice messages and comments. I was not expecting so much support. I'm still a mess, not gonna lie, but after reading the comments, I felt better, like a mini therapy session. So again, thank you all. Now for the update. As I feared, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming, but thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person who came to find me. Yesterday, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering around. I thought about running, not gonna lie, but in that moment I felt strong enough to get it over with instead of having it hanging over my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk and I said yes, but I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous. So I told him to just talk right there. He basically said sorry 100 times and that I deserved better. He said he did love me and still does, but understands why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did consider giving him a chance, he would go to therapy, alone or together or both, and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible. There was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment, things came out with a louder tone and harsher words. Anyways, he did say that he is in the process of getting partial custody of my brother and that he does want to be a dad to him. He said he does not want to be with my mom and that it was just a stupid mistake. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know himself. I asked if he had cheated with someone else before and he said no. I asked why he didn't come clean and he said that after he did the deed, he always felt panicked and realized he could lose me and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out. What was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever. He said he didn't think far enough ahead and that he was basically going with the idea of taking it one day at a time, survival mode. I asked him if he felt that my mom seduced him. He said it was mutual, which made me want to puke again. I asked if he has had any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother. He mentioned that he told his parents about everything the day before or the day before that. His parents were not happy, but are glad to start building a relationship with my brother. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in my stomach. I don't know why. His parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait until he approached me first, hence why he was here. I asked if he started thinking about custody before I found out, and he said no, but when I found out, it was like the push he needed, and this past week he had been arranging all of that mess. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing made me feel not just sad, angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he's still in an okay place and isn't paying for his actions beyond me leaving him. He will have my brother, his parents, and others while moving on with his life while I've lost everything. I hate him. We parted ways on a sour note and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me. It worked a bit, but I still think I can't do it. I don't know much about my mom and really hope she doesn't come looking for me anytime soon because I'm fuming right now and won't be able to handle it. I will be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the blasting today. I think it's about time, and after my talk with him, I've got the extra push I needed. Update 2. I did the blasting, and this is how it went down. I first posted in my family's Facebook group, which is from my mom's side of the family. I used inspiration from what you all suggested in my last post and said something along the lines of, I want to communicate to you all that my wedding with my ex has been permanently canceled since I found out that my mom and my ex have had a relationship over the last few years, which resulted in the birth of my little brother. I had no clue about any of this, and I found out about it last week. I will not have a relationship moving forward with mom and ex for obvious reasons. I would appreciate your understanding, and I felt it was only fair to let you know about the situation since I value transparency and honesty above all. I also included a screenshot of my mother's message. I didn't open the message until before the blasting. I didn't want to hear her and be persuaded. It exploded. I had family reaching out via text and calling the whole day after the blasting. Most were very supportive and I could tell they were just shocked. There were a few neutral responses and some suspicious ones that suggested it wasn't the whole story and maybe I misunderstood. My grandparents were in the maybe you misunderstood category, which wasn't surprising since my mom is super close to them, and like I said before, my mom was always a good mom, so no red flags. I will be moving in with a cousin who is more like a sister to me. I hadn't reached out to her previously because I knew once she knew, everyone would. That's why I went to my friend's place. My cousin is devastated on my behalf and offered for me to live with her and her 2 kids until I can get back on my feet. I accepted and will be moving next week. I'm a bit afraid this will give my mom easier access to me, but I can't stay at my friend's place forever. I then quickly posted a similar message for my friends on Instagram. I created a close friends story and tagged most of them too. This went sort of viral in our friend group. Actually, one of my friends sent me my Reddit post and asked if this was me. I confirmed it. They were also shocked and speechless. They never thought my ex would even remotely do anything like this. They said, he was crazy about you. Oh, well, apparently he went overboard on the crazy part. The group of friends is divided at the moment. Some are completely on my side, while others think it isn't the whole truth. I told everyone who reached out that if they don't believe me, they should ask their friend if he is asking for custody of my little brother. That kind of shut them up for now. My ex deleted his social media apparently. Also, my ex's parents called me like I guessed they would. They were kind to me and very sorry about everything. I got the feeling that they are also overwhelmed and very disappointed. However, it was clear they will be supporting their son. They are very upset with my mother and don't want anything to do with her, but I'm not sure how that will work with my little brother and everything else. They tried to give me info about custody and what my ex is up to now, but I shut that down quickly and told them I don't want any information. I want to move on. I also asked them not to reach out in the near future because I need distance, especially if they will be supporting my ex. Also, my ex and my mother went nuts trying to reach out to me after the blast. They tried calling my friend and reached out from different numbers. I had to put my phone on silent and ignore everyone. However, my mother sent me a long text and it was a weird text. She said that I was being cruel and that she didn't think she raised me that way. She said she thought we had a better relationship than for me to blast out laundry like that without talking to her first, and that I didn't have the whole picture. She mentioned something that confused me. In her long message, she said the reason she slept with my ex is that he reminded her of my dad, that it was grief. She claimed she didn't mean to use him to heal her pain, but that she wasn't strong enough. I don't even know what that means. Did she think that my ex looks physically like my dad, or personality-wise, or what? I have seen photos of my dad, and while my ex isn't super different, he also isn't super alike. I mean, they share brown/dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin, but that's not so uncommon. I don't see what else, I don't know. That threw me for a loop and honestly makes me want to confront my mom just to understand what the hell. Of all the things she could say, I was not expecting that. I'm holding on better, I don't cry every hour or want to murder them, but I'm still sad and upset, and it just feels like this isn't my life, that it's a big joke or a bad dream, and that I will wake up to my normal life. I also need to really start planning my future and begin applying for jobs in other cities, or maybe check the possibilities abroad more seriously. I might ask for 2 to 3 days off work to really get my thoughts together and do some research. I'm terrified, to be honest. I feel frozen, but I know I need to start moving. Update 3. Hi everyone. It has been a while and honestly, so much has happened. I wanted to give you all an update because most of you have been wonderful and weirdly a very big source of support. I know we are all strangers, but thank you. Really, I don't even know where to start. I will begin with the fact that I talked to my mom. Once I moved to my cousin's house, it was easier for her to access me, I guess. So my mom showed up and we had a chat. It didn't go great. She was asking for forgiveness, but at the same time giving herself 1,000 excuses. Her story is as follows. My ex-fiance, let's call him Max, reminded her of my dad. She said the way he talked, his personality, his caring and loving nature, and how polite and good he is. She couldn't stop her feelings for him and tried. She dated around and thought of herself as a sick woman. What was shocking is that apparently my mom and Max kissed before he and I were official. He was 18, so there was no criminality there, but what the hell. Also, it seems like Max initiated it. My mom stopped him and that was it. He and I started dating a month or two after that, if the timeline is correct. I am still unclear who initiated it when they started sleeping together. It seems mutual. I asked her why she kept my brother if the whole situation was so bad. She said that she never thought she could have another baby so late in life, and when she found out she was pregnant, she felt it was a blessing and that I was so nice about it. Also, she thought it would be the child my dad and she had planned all along. She knew it wasn't my dad's, but for her, Max was basically my dad. It makes me sick. She wanted to tell me, but thought it was better not to because she loves me. However, recently, she felt bad for my little brother that his dad was alive but not with him, so both of her kids would grow up without a dad. She felt it wasn't fair to anyone anymore. I told her that I listened to her, but that I still want nothing to do with her ever. She said that when I grow up, I will understand. I told her that I will never understand because I'm not a sick, selfish, nasty person. I'd rather die than understand. As for my family, well, I have cut off my grandparents. They support my mom. They told me what she did was wrong, but that she was my mom and I needed to learn forgiveness. I posted my mom's message in the Facebook group again and received mixed reactions. Some people in my family were completely on my side, like my cousin and an aunt, but others thought I was being too dramatic and that this needed to be discussed in private rather than on a Facebook group. So I got kicked out. I'm hurt. I grew up with these people. Christmas holidays, birthdays, I don't get it. A lot of people wondered in my last update if my mom is hot or what. Thanks for those questions, by the way. They really made me feel better. But to clarify, and just because my friend said this last time and thought it was accurate in a very morbid way, have you guys seen the Maroon 5 music video, She Will Be Loved? Well, that is a very good representation. I almost laughed. Almost. On the Max topic, a lot has happened there too. We also had another chat since he decided again to ambush me on my way back from work. I hate this. It feels so vulnerable that people can just reach me like that. Anyway, I tried to avoid him and walk around, but it was impossible. He is double my size in height and weight. I then exploded and told him what my mom said, and he went pale at the part about them kissing before we dated. After some back and forth, he admitted it. Apparently, he had a massive crush on my mom as a teenager, but after he got to know me better and we started dating, he realized, "You are your mom's better version." Literally his words. I felt like I had been slapped in the face, and also, what the actual hell? Is my life more of a lie than I thought? Is someone recording this shit? Because what? Finally, I got more info on why he slept with her. What I understood is that I'm the love of his life, but he needed to take my mom off his system to have closure for that teenage crush so he and I could continue our happy life without regrets. He just didn't count on my little brother and that up situation. I was honestly shocked and didn't say much after that. I just wanted to get the hell away and hide. The day was a blur and I had to call in sick the next few days. I felt like everything crashed. I've been sad and angry, but then I just felt devastated. Why did they put so much effort into destroying me? They supposedly love me, so why? I have honestly been recovering from everything, and that's why I haven't really been on Reddit. On the topic of future plans, I might be able to get a position as an au pair in Spain. I applied with guidance from some friends and have had a few interviews with some families. One seems like it will be possible. I will know in the next week or two, I've been told. The position is only set to start at the end of September or the beginning of October, but I'm ready to leave. This will be a setback in my sort of career, but I need to get out. I can't continue looking over my shoulder, and I absolutely can't forgive them. Oh, I also saw my little brother. It was his birthday last weekend, and although I didn't go to the party, my cousin helped me set up a short meeting. It was bittersweet. He told me he missed me, and I did too. He said he was happy that Max was his daddy because he was so much fun and they were spending a lot of time together, and mom seems happy. Not gonna lie, that hurt a lot. I tried to put on a brave face, but it was hard. It was very short, and I told him I would be traveling for a long time and that I would try to send him cards in the future through my cousin. He was confused but accepted it. I'm not sure how much he understands about everything. Update 4. My group of friends is divided. Some of Max's closest friends have been saying that I should give him another chance. That no one is perfect, but he loves me. That he was always good to me and I shouldn't just turn my back on him. They even said that Max, my little brother, and I could be a perfect little family and that I could make sure my little bro has a good stepmom who better than his blood relative. Right? This is such bullshit. They are talking like he messed up on something minor or even medium. Like he lied about getting laid off work or forgot to pay our bills for a month. Like what? I have some girlfriends who are completely on my side and supporting me, which is nice. But our friend group isn't solid anymore and everyone is taking sides. I did have a conversation with Max on the phone though. I admit I had a bit to drink that night since I was coming back from meeting some friends for dinner and I had a few glasses of wine and a cocktail, but I remember the talk. Disclaimer, this is not the exact conversation, but I will recount what I remember to the best of my ability. Me. Do you think that you were groomed? Max. I never thought of that, but maybe. Me. How did you even get a crush on my mom? I thought we always hung out in a group and my mom wasn't really there for more than a few minutes, just passing by. Was it looks? Max. Yes and no. I thought she was pretty, so there was the teen crush. But then I also tried to talk to her by passing through your house and asking if you were there and then had a chat with your mom. Me, was I always second choice? Max, no, you aren't now. Me, and back then when you asked me to be your girlfriend? Max, silence. Me, tell me the truth please. Max, I don't know, I did like you, but I still had the crush. Me, do you want to be with her now? Max, God no. Me, why did you do it, Max? To get her out of your system, so you still wanted her. Did you want her during the times we had sex? Max, no don't, I only wanted you. I don't know, I felt like those YOLO moments. I thought I'd give my teen self what he always wanted. I felt so stupid. Me, then why did you do it more times? Max, I really don't know. We were silent for a lot of it, and not long after that, we hung up. It was a short call and honestly emotional. I was sort of drunkish and he seemed emotionally drained too. I feel stupid for opening up and calling him to ask those questions. I've said 1,000 times that I don't want to know more, but I was weak. Every time I feel like moving on, I'm hit again by everything. My brain can't understand it yet. On my mom's front, well, not much has happened. She continues to try to fix it. My grandparents reached out to me, but I didn't answer. I'm sure they were trying to give me support. Final update. I'm moving to Spain. I got the job as an au pair near one of the biggest cities in Spain. I'm so excited. I'm flying in a few days and starting on September 1st with the family. The kids are adorable too. I will be learning Spanish, which I have always wanted to do anyway, so it all feels like it's heaven sent. I haven't told almost anyone about it, just a few friends I trust, and of course, my cousin who I live with. Also, my boss. My mother has been telling people I'm being mean to her when she wants to fix everything. She made a mistake and is trying to fix it, but I'm being difficult. She is just human. Not surprising. I'm really coming to terms with how self-centered she is and has always been. I'm sad I lost the mom I thought I had. It feels like she died. My new therapist said I'm grieving. Max has left me a bit alone since the last call we had. I heard he is focusing on my little brother and just staying under the radar. I have had some short phone calls with my little brother which have been bittersweet, but he is doing okay. He of course doesn't know what's really happening, but he is happy to have a new dad. It doesn't hurt as much as it did before, but it still hurts. Thank you all for all the support. This next post was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named OtherSalt. The post is titled, "My wife is addicted to the gym and it's ruining our marriage." My wife is 30 years old and she's always worked out and been in shape, but lately I feel like it's becoming excessive. She used to regularly work out at a gym when she was in college. At some point, she stopped going to the gym, probably due to her schedule, and preferred to work out at home or go for runs outside. About 18 months ago, she announced she was going to get back into the habit of going to the gym. She now had a job that allowed her to make more time for it. It started off normally, but slowly became more and more frequent. She signed up for classes on the weekends, started going to the gym every day, and then it became the morning before work and again later in the evening, every single day. If she's stressed, she goes to the gym. If she experiences some sort of life crisis, she immediately heads to the gym. If we have an argument, she runs to the gym. She's 4 months pregnant right now. I'm kind of surprised we even had time to make a kid. I understand that it's safe for her to work out, especially since she was already in the habit of doing it before she got pregnant, but the intensity is not slowing down. If she misses one of her normal gym sessions, she becomes so irritable, like a junkie not getting her fix. It's just bizarre. Truly a case of too much of a good thing. Of course, she gets upset when I voice that I feel it's becoming an unhealthy obsession and that I miss spending time with her because she's there so much. She has all of these friends and this whole circle of people at the gym that she seems to prefer spending time with over me. Why don't we work out together at the gym? The gym is her time, she says. This isn't a case of me feeling insecure because she's in great physical shape and I'm a fat slob. I work out and am in shape. My job really requires me to stay fit, so I can't let myself go. I genuinely feel her gym habits are unhealthy. She's over-exercising for one, there is such a thing. But worse than that, I feel it's becoming a way for her to escape everything else in her life. She never actually fixes anything that goes wrong. She just runs off to the gym for some sort of mood boost and then that's it. She also never gets anything else done in a practical sense because how can she when she's at the gym so often? It's gotten to the point where I have to do every chore, and if food is getting made, I'm going to have to do it. I don't expect her to do all of those things, but it should at least be a shared effort. People we know have even commented about it to me. They've said things about how she seems different, how she sure is at the gym a lot, and many of her friends and family barely see her anymore. Some have even suggested that she's having an affair with someone there. Please tell me this doesn't sound normal to you. She insists this is perfectly normal. Update. I posted not very long ago about my wife's addiction to the gym, a compulsion if you will. She spends most of her free time there. She often goes twice a day and sometimes even 3 times if we have a fight at night and she needs to run off instead of actually talking to me. She won't let me go to her gym and she refuses to go to mine. Her gym is her place, my gym is my place, and that's just the way it has to be according to her. I'd love to have her come along with me. I've invited her multiple times. She's about 18 weeks pregnant right now. This is our first baby. She worked out like crazy prior to the pregnancy, and she continues to work just as hard now. I truly didn't think she was cheating on me. People suggested it in the last thread, and I laughed. You can tell she's at the gym a lot. She's in great shape, so she's obviously going there. I felt really confident about the cheating issue, and when I posted 9 days ago, I wasn't even considering it. I'm embarrassed to admit that after reading a lot of the comments on my last post, I thought maybe I was being overly confident about her fidelity. She usually always has her phone on her, but she left it on the kitchen counter. As stupid as I felt, I decided to do a quick swipe through her texts. She had a current text conversation going on with a guy. I recognized the name, the same name of a guy from the gym she mentions a lot. She's friends with many people there and went to one of their weddings last fall. I wasn't too terribly concerned until I started reading the texts. I never wanted to know what the guys look like, but now I do. She was only out of the room for literally about a minute or two, so I had to scroll fast. I was furious. I asked her what the hell that conversation was about. She started yelling at me for looking at her phone. I told her she was acting so weird and that the gym obsession was really bothering me, so I decided to look. I was ashamed that I did, but I thought I'd find nothing at all. She kept saying, "It's nothing, it's nothing." It didn't look like nothing to me. She sure seemed pretty interested in this nothing. I wanted to know if she had been sleeping with him and for how long. She kept saying no. I left the house because I was so furious, but not before I slammed her phone on the ground and shattered it. She called me all sorts of names for breaking her phone and hit me on the back as hard as she could. I left and went to my brother's house. My brother and sister-in-law were shocked, although my sister-in-law was one of the most vocal ones about my wife's gym obsession being weird and constantly bringing it up to me. When I went home, she was in bed crying. She obviously couldn't call me or anyone else for that matter. She was laying it on thick. I don't know if you'd ever come home. Give me a break. I took her phone to get repaired tonight. She doesn't deserve it, but I still feel like an ass for breaking it. I still don't know how deep this goes. She won't admit to anything beyond what I saw. Was it sexting or more? I'm convinced it was a lot more, but she refuses to hand over her phone and is now trying to act like I'm this terrible monster who is abusing her because I broke her phone. It's not my proudest moment, but honestly, after she punched me, I wanted to body slam her. I have never and would never actually touch her like that. Update 2. Today, my wife asked me to stay home from work so we could talk. She laid in bed all day yesterday trying to get me to feel sorry for her, but I paid absolutely no attention to her and ended up leaving the house to go to my family's Super Bowl party. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I wasn't going to sit at home with her. It really bothered her that I left. She kept texting me things like, "Who just leaves like that? When something like this is happening, who is that cold and callous that they just leave to go to a party?" I stayed home today to talk to her. She was full of tears and said she was so sorry. According to her, she really was going to the gym twice a day because she likes going there. That's where her friends are. It makes her feel good and it's fun for her. She met this guy there and he started flirting with her. Everyone likes him. He's one of the most popular guys there. I didn't realize there were popular people at gyms. She admitted that she flirted back, but didn't mean anything by it. She didn't reciprocate very much at first, but he gave her butterflies, and she just found herself flirting back without thinking. She said it felt like when she had a crush on somebody when she was in school. They started texting. At first, it was just friendly and nothing sexual for several months, but she'd feel giddy every time she got a message from him. She was really attracted to him, but told him that she was married and there could never actually be anything between them. According to her, he kept flirting with her anyway and said, "Sure, we won't cross the line." Until they did cross the line. She said she had tried to resist it for a while, but then one day they kissed. She admitted to enjoying it, but also felt that it was wrong. She must not have felt that bad because she slept with him for the first time later that night. She described it as falling in love with somebody for the first time. All she could think about was him. Is she in love with him? She doesn't know. Is this baby mine? She thinks so, but there's always a small chance it could be his. He always uses a condom, so she doesn't think it's his baby, but they were sleeping together at the time she got pregnant. She loves me. She can't help that there's just this huge spark between the two of them. She doesn't know if she loves him. She doesn't know if the baby is mine. She doesn't know why she did this. She doesn't know what she thinks we should do. The nail in the coffin is when she said, "You would really leave me if it's not your baby, would you?" She had the audacity to ask me that. I told her, of course I'm leaving her. I wouldn't raise another man's child. She seemed shocked. She said, "Really? With everything we have and all our history, you wouldn't even consider it?" She can't be serious. I told her no, I would never consider it. She agreed to get a DNA test, tearfully agreed, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for her about it. I don't know who this woman is. She was crying the whole time, but not tears of an ashamed or sorry person. They were tears for herself and meant to try to make me feel bad. Feel bad for what? That her heart is apparently so torn. Update 3. My life has been reduced to a trashy daytime talk show. The woman who was once my wife, whom I considered a classy woman, has turned into complete trailer trash. Today, she announced that she's moving in with her affair partner from the gym. She's pregnant. It might be his kid or it might be mine. She's too embarrassed to go get blood drawn for a paternity test. She spent about a week trying to get my attention, to get me to talk to her, to get me to beg her to be mine. I didn't fall for any of it. I've largely been ignoring her, and when we have to speak, I keep it very brief. We've been living together this whole time, but I'm in a different room now and functioning separately from her in all ways. So her pouting and trying to get me to pay attention to her and give her a gold star for not going to the gym for 5 days in a row didn't work. Today, she texted me to say she is moving in with him. Somehow, I still care about this person. I've already met with a lawyer though. I can care about her as a human being and the possible mother of my child without being married to her. Still, it stung to hear her say she was going to be with him. I told her it wasn't a smart move to leave the house. I've even suggested she should probably meet with a lawyer. She doesn't care about anything I have to say. I don't think she needs to move in with anybody. I actually feel bad for her that she can't just be on her own. I asked her if he actually knew she was pregnant and wanted to know what story she's been telling him this whole time. She said he knows and that he doesn't care if it's my baby. He loves her and wants to be with her. Bizarre. You can't find anyone else? Someone who isn't a married pregnant woman? Why would you take that on? It doesn't make sense to me. He's scum, but he's good-looking scum who apparently is gainfully employed and owns his own home, so you can't tell me that my married pregnant wife is your only option here. I just can't imagine being a single guy like that and wanting to put up with this baggage when I could have other options. And if this really is my baby, then what? They'll live with my wife and this weasel 50% of the time? I don't know how my life turned into this mess, and she thinks it's embarrassing to have to go get blood drawn? Update 4. My wife moved in with her affair partner last weekend. She didn't take very much at all. Most of her stuff is still in our house. I still get the feeling she was just waiting for me to beg her to come home, but I didn't reach out to her at all after she left. It was a strange mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. I don't think I ate at all until last night. I just never felt hungry. I drank a little too much, but I'm fine. I'm posting this update because I've received a ton of messages from people, and honestly, it's emotionally draining to respond to each one and to have to type the same stuff out. I just don't feel like talking about her that much. So this morning she texted me to say her affair partner wants to get a DNA test done, so she's going to do it. Look at that. Didn't matter when I wanted one, but now that he has requested it, she suddenly thinks it's a great idea. She asked if I wanted to submit a sample because it'll be cheaper to have 2 dads tested as part of one package. I don't even care about the cost at this point. I just want an answer. I don't have to see or interact with them at all. I just have to make my own appointment with the lab to get my cheek swabbed. So this Saturday, I'm gonna do that and we should have the results within a week. I'll take what I can get at this point because it's better than her dragging this out for another 20 weeks. So that's it. I'm fine. I'm going to work every day trying to function. I just feel stuck in limbo. I miss her. Honestly, I hate that she's there with him. It makes me sick. Part of me does want to beg her to come home. It'll be even worse if I find out that it's my baby and she's there with him unless he drops her at that news. I won't let myself beg her. I won't play any of those games with her. Update 5. My wife has been having an affair with a guy she met at the gym for nearly a year. She's around 22 weeks pregnant right now. She was somewhere around 17 weeks when I discovered she was cheating. She maintained that she was positive I was the father, but then refused to get a paternity test done to ease my mind. We recently had a paternity test done and it proves the baby is mine. It's been a whirlwind of mixed emotions for me, very up and down. Originally, I thought I just wanted to be completely done with her and not have any lifelong ties in the form of a child we share, but I was somewhat happy or relieved when I got the results. I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to be a father for months before I found out she was cheating. Sometimes I just have moments where I can't believe this is my life, that this is the situation my kid will be born into, and I hate her for it. She's still living with him. All of her belongings are still here in our house. I refuse to do the work of packing everything up for her. She doesn't seem concerned about taking any of her things beyond the essentials. After we got the news that I'm the baby's father, she texted me to say she's glad I'm the father and that she knows I'll be a great dad. She was texting me new baby name ideas last night. She's tried calling, but I ignore the calls. I only speak with her via text. This morning, she asked if she could come by and get a few things. I told her it was fine, as I've been advised by my lawyer not to prevent her entry into the home, but I told her he better not be with her. So who shows up with her? The scumbag boyfriend. He walks right into the house behind her like it's no big deal. She ran upstairs to get the stuff she wanted while he and I were just left standing there in the living room. He told me it wasn't her fault that he was there. She told him I didn't want him to come, but he forced his way along. He wanted to talk to me, supposedly, to tell me he understands how I must be feeling. No, you don't know. He told me he knows I probably don't believe him, but he genuinely loves her and knew he probably wasn't the father. He accepts it and then tried to assure me he won't try to take my place with the baby and hopes we can just get along since we're both going to be in her life now. He promises that she's fine. He's looking after her. I told him that I couldn't for the life of me imagine what he wanted with a pregnant woman who is having another man's child. That I found it weird. Then I told him if he didn't get out of my house, I'd punch him. I went upstairs and she was trying to find some things in the bathroom. I got mad, asked her why she brought him along, and told her I found it really strange that he still wants to be with her now that he knows he has nothing to do with this baby, and that I refuse to let him have anything to do with my child. She said he talked her into coming and that she's sorry. She never meant for any of this to happen, but she's in love with him now. He is supposedly what 30-year-old her is looking for, not me. She's setting up a nursery in his house and said I can set one up at my place. She has no intention of trying to get full custody or anything like that. She doesn't want to keep me from being involved in my child's life. How generous of her. She went back downstairs and I followed her. He was still standing there in the living room, so I just walked up to him and punched him. He stumbled back and fell into a table. She yelled, "What the fuck?" and ran over to him. At this point, I didn't even care, as if he's going to call the cops. He deserved it, and it wouldn't have happened had he just left like I told him to. Several hours later, she texted me to say she was sorry about today. He really meant what he said. He's actually a good guy who cares about her and respects me. What the hell? He respects me? He was screwing my wife in the gym locker room. I told her she couldn't be serious. She said, "Fine, I'm trying to have a mature conversation about this. I can't help that we fell in love. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to hurt you. I want everything to be amicable. This guy stole my wife and now he's stealing my kid too. Sure, I'm the actual father, but now they're setting up a nursery together in his house. I've tried not to feel jealous or sad. I've tried to maintain the thought that he's the trash man who picked up my garbage. Sometimes I feel that way, but the truth is that I loved her and still love her. I don't want to stay married to her on principle alone, but this is devastating for me." Update 6. My wife is basically 26 weeks pregnant now. There actually hasn't been much drama with her and her affair partner. I was away for a long weekend last week, and it was nice to just get away from home for a while. The only really annoying thing that's happened is that I told her I'm going to be in the delivery room, not him. After everything she's done, she owes me that. It's not his baby. He has no right or reason to be there. I will not be the one waiting outside when my kid is being born. She said she agreed and that she never planned to have him in there with her. I asked her if she told him that and she said no. I told her to tell him he'll have no part in it. Well, she told him, and apparently he didn't like that. He started trying to convince her why he should be there. Next thing I know, she's telling me that he really wants to be there and that she's the one giving birth, so she should be able to say who she wants there, and she wants him there. I suppose he'll start making name suggestions soon, and we'll try to overrule names we've had picked out for our future kids for years. We've talked a little bit, and she told me I can have our house and the dog in our divorce. I'm requesting that we sell the house and split the profit. I already have that written in the paperwork. I'm not buying her out of our house, a house that I've made all the payments on anyway. I have a much better credit score than hers and less debt. I compromised a lot because she liked this house. I'd rather be able to get my own place based solely on what I want, with no reminders of her. And there was already no way she was getting the dog. I already had proof that I owned him, so she wouldn't really stand a chance of having a court award the dog to her. It's the one thing I told my lawyer I wanted above everything else. Honestly, her affair partner can have her, but he will never ever have my dog. Not to mention, my dog is 100 times more loyal than my wife, and some might even say better looking too. So with the idea that I won't be living here in this house for much longer after the baby is born, I decided I will still prepare a nursery here anyway, in case anyone wants to accuse me of not being invested or prepared for fatherhood. I'm trying to look at the positives. It doesn't matter what colors she likes or what themes, I can do whatever I want. Honestly, we've been together for so long and have lived together for most of our adult lives. It's sort of nice not living with somebody, but also sort of lonely too. I have friends and family, but it's hard to feel in the mood to go out or hang out with people too often. They always ask me about everything that's going on, and it's just tiring to have that as the topic of conversation. I got a promotion at work, which financially would have been better had it happened after the divorce, but I'll take what I can get. I feel like I'm living in limbo right now, and a lot of what I do is always framed around how will this affect me in the divorce. Admittedly, I spy on them on social media sometimes. Guess I'm hoping to see he's been in a motorcycle accident or something now that the weather is nicer. It hasn't happened yet, but he's starting a new company, and once that's up and running, I can always get all my friends and family to leave 1-star reviews everywhere. Have to find ways to have a little fun. Sorry that I don't respond to a lot of messages or comments. Sometimes I just take big breaks from looking at Reddit since it can be depressing as hell, editing to add something I forgot. She told her family that we've split up and that she's with this other guy now. Her sister reached out to me to say how sorry she was. Her sister is a dumbass, that sort of thing. She told me that my wife was complaining about her affair partner. She said the is over when he's done, and apparently he's really selfish with he doesn't do the extra little things for her that she's used to me doing, like clearing the snow off her car in the morning and heating it up, or offering to make her food after a long day. He doesn't speak her love language, and he hangs out with his friends too much. This made me so happy to hear. She's secretly miserable, and I find that absolutely delightful. Update 7, I'm still alive. I'm mainly posting here because several people have reached out to me and were concerned that I'd taken my own life. No, I'm not on the brink of ending my life. I think I'm doing better than I have since all of this started. Around the time of my last post, my story blew up and I was getting messages from people who saw it on TikTok and YouTube. I had to take a step back because it was a little overwhelming. I have over 100 unread messages here. I appreciate it, but it was a little uncomfortable at the time. And I got to the point where I didn't really want to talk about the situation with my wife and her affair partner anymore. As of today, our baby is due in less than 10 weeks. We're in the home stretch now. I don't feel prepared at all. All of this other stuff has just been so distracting. I started working on a nursery. It's not done yet, but I have the floor finished and the walls painted. My ex-wife was impressed with the color scheme and furniture I chose. She's not legally my ex-wife yet, but I've started calling her that. It sort of makes it easier. I also packed up a bunch of her stuff. Originally, I refused to spend my time packing up her things, but eventually I just said screw it and started packing them. I'm at the point where it'll just be easier not to see all of her stuff around here. Why did I leave it for so long? She came over to get some of the boxes I packed up and she came alone. Things were fine between us. I loaded the stuff into her car, we didn't argue. At one point, she started to tear up and said she messed up. I said, yeah, she did, but there's no point in talking about it now. She shit all over our marriage. She has her muscle-bound asshole to go home to now anyway, so who cares? She said, I know, but it's not the same. I told her nothing has been the same since she decided to sleep with him for the first time. Supposedly, he's going to let me be in the delivery room when my baby is born. I didn't even argue when she said it like that, but inside, I was boiling at the idea of him letting me be there for the birth of my child. She says she talked to him and he agreed it wouldn't really be right not to allow me to be there. I'm going to take what I can get if it means being there for the birth of my child. I'm going to try to just ignore him for the time being. She was acting all sweet and laying on all of the I really want you there, I really need you there stuff, and mentally, I know I'm not in a place to be that cold toward her when she starts acting that way. I'm trying to be indifferent more than anything else, but it's so hard when she's actually around and starts looking at me a certain way and making me feel bad. She invited me over to see the nursery they have set up at his house. I'm not sure I can bring myself to go into another man's house and look at the nursery set up for my kid. I did ask her if she was truly safe there though. I don't know why, it's just been bothering me. As pissed as I still am, I don't want to find out he's mistreating her, and I definitely don't want my kid going into an unsafe household. I haven't told her about anything her sister has told me. They probably won't last, but as of right now, there's a very good chance my newborn baby will be going home with him. It kills me to think about it. It's almost soul destroying if I dwell on it too long. She says she's fine, he genuinely loves her. He's great with kids and accepts that she's having a baby, that this is part of the package. She insists it's not weird because she wasn't pregnant when anything started between them. I asked her why she did it. Why did she ever let anything start between them in the first place? She said, I don't know. Then she went into I don't want to talk about this mode and left pretty soon after. Typical behavior from her, just run away. Overall, I'm doing okay. I'm not sitting here depressed and drinking a bottle of scotch every night anymore. I mean occasionally, but for the most part, no. I feel more used to my new normal now, and that'll all change yet again pretty soon. Update 8, I have a baby, a little girl, I'm a dad. She was born yesterday at 11:57 p.m., 2 weeks early. As she has done before, my wife was having some pains off and on, and she left for work yesterday morning. She works from home on Mondays. She told me around 8:30 a.m. that she was having contractions 17 minutes apart. The same thing happened not long ago, but then by evening, all the pain stopped. I was at work, so I told her to keep me posted. A little later, she said they were 15 minutes apart and that she had some other signs that actual labor might be starting. I asked her if she needed somebody there with her. She said she wanted me to come be with her. I didn't even mean to volunteer myself. She was scared. I didn't even ask why she didn't call him. I left work and went over to her house. Uncomfortable doesn't begin to describe it, but there were obviously more important things going on. He wasn't there. She didn't even contact him. She said she just wanted it to be me and her there. In her words, he hadn't seen her pee or shit herself yet, but I've witnessed all of that already, so she was more comfortable with me there. I really tried to be as nice and supportive as possible, setting aside the whole situation about her affair, our marriage, everything for a brief time. I don't really know what my purpose was in being there, but I think she just needed somebody there so she didn't feel alone. She spent most of the time stretching and doing some sort of yoga labor routine while bouncing on this huge exercise ball. I twiddled my thumbs for the most part and looked through a bunch of her belongings. I was timing the contractions and they were consistent and slowly getting closer together, so I thought it was probably actually going to happen. It wasn't nearly far enough along to go to the hospital yet, and it was getting close to when he'd get home. I was planning how I'd handle that when she called me into the bathroom to ask if I thought her water broke. It wasn't like in the movies with this huge gush of water, so he got home while I was there. He came into the house and the first thing he asked was, "What are you doing here?" I think he thought something else was going on. "No, you just left for work and left her alone when she was scared." He said he was home and that he'd be with her until it was time to go to the hospital. He put his hand on my shoulder and said something like, "Thanks, bud, I got it from here and we'll call you when we're on the way to the hospital." He called me bud. I told him I wasn't his fucking buddy and to screw off. I could tell she wanted me to leave. I'm not sure she really wanted me to leave so much as she was in labor, and the tension between the two of us wasn't what she needed, and I knew that. It was his house, so what was I supposed to do? I left and prayed they'd actually call me instead of letting me know the next day that my kid had been born. She texted me a few hours later to say the doctor told her to go to the hospital. At that point, I still didn't know if I would be waiting outside or what he'd decide was best for his apparent wife and child. I was allowed to be in the room. I didn't force my way in there. She said she wanted me to be there. He was there too. By far, it was the single most awkward experience of my life, and the only reason I was able to excuse it was that she told me she wanted me there. I didn't want to miss the chance to be present when my kid was born and to hold my child before he did. I can't imagine what the doctors and nurses were thinking. It was humiliating. Then the guy tried to police what I could see. I put the baby in there. He's fucking watching, and it's like, this is still my wife and that's my baby. I chose to stay dignified and ignored him the entire time. I was there to do whatever she told me to do, and my focus wasn't on him. But in any other setting, I don't think I would have been able to hold back. The baby came flying out. I mean, as far as labor goes. These are the nurse's words, and I trust labor and delivery nurses to know what they're talking about. She tore very badly because the baby came out so fast. The baby is so tiny, barely 6 pounds and only 18 inches, but perfectly healthy. I went home for a short rest, although I really couldn't rest at all. I went back today, and of course he was there. Surprisingly, he said he was going to give us some time alone with the baby. I'm not sure if she had previously asked him to do that when I showed up or not. I didn't ask. He even brought us all food back when he returned a few hours later. I wondered if mine might be poisoned, but I tried to be nice. He's still not gone, so I'm wondering how long he'll be around. I just can't let myself do anything that will make her try to keep me away from my daughter now. I don't want them making it difficult for me. I'd prefer not to share her name publicly, but I can confirm it's the name we chose for a daughter years ago. He had no say in it and hasn't said anything about the name at all. It kills me to see him holding her though. I eventually left because it was just too much sitting there pretending to be in some bizarre Three's Company situation. I know I will get my time with her when he's not around. He's already posting pictures of her on his social media. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I just have to find a way to be the bigger person because I won't let him or their relationship discourage me from being my daughter's dad. I totally get doing anything for your kids now, and if it means having to pretend to get along with him, I will. A deleted user said, "Wow, this guy is sucking up his pride and setting aside all the BS for the sake of the baby. She's right, he will be a good dad." User Incredible Platypus said, "I do feel a little sorry for her, feeling like she has to be with him for those reasons because that's the ideal setup for abuse. And now there's an innocent child in the mix. That's never great. I'm a bit more gleeful about her tearing than I feel I should be though. If anyone ever deserves it, it's cheaters. But God, I feel so bad for OP. That's just horrible. There's a good chance that cheat bro is going to see first that he doesn't get to see, etc. And poor kid, because yeah, she doesn't have to watch her family be torn apart, but growing up as the affair child and having that level of tension between your parents, I hope she gets therapy and I hope her dad gets therapy." My wife just found out she's pregnant. I had a vasectomy 10 years ago. I had a vasectomy during my first marriage. My ex and I had 3 kids, we were done, and it just made sense. I got married last year after 3 years of dating. My wife has never given me any indication to believe she is cheating. In fact, she is an extremely loyal and attentive spouse. To top it all off, I work from home. I literally don't know when she would have the time to have an affair unless she was doing it at work. We always have our locations on our iPhones, and I have noticed no secretive or suspicious behavior. When we first found out about the pregnancy, she was incredibly shocked but ultimately very happy. She said in between tears that she guessed the vasectomy had failed. I've googled it. We're looking at about a 1% probability that this happened. So basically, I have 2 choices. Ask my wife for a paternity test and either have my suspicions confirmed or shatter her trust in me. Or I say nothing and live with this gnawing suspicion until our child is born and I can quietly perform a paternity test. I am so torn up about this. My wife is already planning the nursery and I'm sitting here wondering if I should be hating her or myself. User Mr. Satch's friend said, "Call your doctor. They should be able to do a sperm count and tell you if you're even remotely fertile. Wait for those results before confronting her." To this, OP said, "Yeah, this is absolutely the thing to do. I've been so stressed out and shocked that I haven't been thinking clearly." A deleted user said, "Vasectomies can reverse themselves. I've had 2 friends have happy surprises after getting snipped. I have one too, and I know there's always a chance of pregnancy. It's not 0. Instead of sitting there worrying about paternity, your initial knee-jerk reaction should be that life found a way if you and your wife have a solid foundation. I don't know why this was even considered. I would never assume that my partner was cheating. Get an appointment with a urologist and have your sperm count checked. You may find a little surprise." Update. Hello all, a few of you might remember my last post. My wife found out she was pregnant unexpectedly, and I, having had a vasectomy 10 years ago, couldn't shake the suspicion of cheating. I took everyone's advice and got the vasectomy checked. Lo and behold, my doctor tells me my sperm count is very low, but there are still sperm present. This explains why we've been having unprotected sex for years without any issues, but also why my wife is now pregnant. I was equal parts relieved and ashamed of myself. My wife is a wonderful person, and she shows me every single day how much I mean to her, and I suspected her of cheating before I even considered an issue with the vasectomy. I have thought about coming clean to my wife and telling her what I did, but on the other hand, she is so happy and excited. She's showing quite a bit now, and everywhere we go, people tell her she is glowing. Our relationship is the best it's ever been, and I don't think it's right to burst her bubble to alleviate my own guilt. All I can do is be the best husband I can be to her through this pregnancy and get ready to be a dad at 46. Thanks to everyone for their suggestions. I just wish I had thought of it myself before jumping to horrible conclusions. I thought I should post an update. This next story was made in the relationship subreddit by a user named WhatDo232. The post is titled, "My best friend's fiance is extremely inappropriate towards me. Throwaway because one of the people involved knows my personal account. I am at a loss for how to handle this situation in an appropriate manner. Any kind of advice would be greatly appreciated at this point. To make this easier, let's call my friend Kate and her fiance, John. I met Kate during my sophomore year of high school through mutual acquaintances. We became very close, so naturally, I was devastated when she moved several states away after graduating. Despite the distance, we kept in contact and remained as good friends as ever. About 2 years ago, my family happened to take a vacation very close to her new home. So we excitedly planned to meet. It felt amazing to see her again. We both dashed out of our cars and hugged and squealed like stereotypical best friends. We hung out all evening and caught up with one another in person. I also had the chance to finally meet her fiancé of 1 year. I had heard only great things about this guy, and he seemed very pleasant. Shortly after returning home, I received a text message from an unknown number, John. He thanked me for stopping by to see Kate, saying that it really lifted her spirits and he hadn't seen her so happy in a long time. Understanding the personal issues Kate had been struggling with lately, I told him I was glad to have helped. I assumed Kate had given him my number and didn't think much else about it. John would text me here and there about little insignificant things. He'd mention a movie he and Kate were about to see and ask for my opinion or suggest a fun new video game they had bought. I would answer his questions or respond to suggestions, but never carry on a conversation beyond the original topic. John would attempt to keep me talking, but I always dropped off due in part to not being very big on texting. More than a year after seeing Kate, I received a very late night text from John saying, "I miss you." Assuming he had sent this to me by mistake, I ignored it. Fast forward to a month or so ago, I took a weekend trip to visit Kate. We had been planning this get together for a while, and I was super excited to spend some much needed girl time with her. I had been anticipating a chill weekend with my best friend, but nothing could have prepared me for the Twilight Zone situation I was about to walk into. Kate and John picked me up from the airport, and I was made to feel uncomfortable almost immediately. John extended his arms for a hug upon my arrival, which I thought nothing of and accepted. He held me a bit too tightly and for a bit too long, then commented on how hot I looked. Not nice or even pretty, but hot. I sort of just laughed awkwardly and looked towards Kate, who seemed not to be paying attention at the moment. I pushed this aside, chalking it up to a social fluke on his part, and enjoyed the rest of my day with them. The daylight hours went smoothly, save for John suggesting several times that we all get drunk that evening. Not being a drinker, I declined only to have him get a little pushy about it. I politely reaffirmed my opinion, and he eventually dropped it. After returning to their home, the three of us hung out in the family room and watched a bit of television. We all began talking and somehow came to the topic of a pregnancy scare Kate had told me about a few months prior. John proceeded to tell me how stupid Kate was for worrying over a possible pregnancy. He said that he had told her several times that it was hardly possible and to stop being such a stupid spaz over it. He went on to say that it was her own fault for forgetting her birth control and that it was bullshit for her to then expect him to use a condom. I was entirely thrown off by the way he raised his voice and talked so rudely about my friend. I defended her, saying that it was entirely legitimate to worry about these things and that if she preferred he wear a condom to be safe, he should respect her wishes. He only laughed at me, and Kate stayed totally silent during the entire interaction. John then asked if I wanted to sleep in bed with him and Kate rather than in the guest room, which I found totally strange. I declined the offer and went to bed. The following morning, Kate and I had made plans to go shopping. She mentioned that John wouldn't be with us because he had to work, which I was very grateful for. Before leaving the house, however, John stopped me and said, "You're a heavy sleeper." Confused, I gave him a weird look and asked what he meant. He went on to say, "You're a heavy sleeper. You don't even wake up when people touch you." Normally, I would have interpreted this as someone possibly trying to rouse me earlier by tapping my shoulder or something along those lines. But the way John was smirking at me and the inflection he put on the word touch made me think otherwise. I asked John what the hell he was talking about, and he only laughed, saying it was nothing. Now, I happen to take some relatively strong sleeping pills, of which Kate is aware. These knock me out pretty hard, but I believe I would have woken up if someone entered the room or touched me inappropriately. So I highly doubt anything actually happened, but the possibility of him groping me in my sleep makes me sick. In fact, the fact that he would say that to me just to cause anxiety makes me sick. I tried to enjoy my outing with Kate, which unfortunately didn't offer much solace. While stopped at a red light, Kate and I sat quietly as a group of pedestrians crossed the street. Kate made a comment about how beautiful one particular girl in the crowd happened to be. I agreed that she was a very pretty woman, only for Kate to suddenly spout out, "I'm not attracted to men." She had said this as if the words had been dying to leave her lips for years. I was pretty dumbfounded and caught off guard by the sudden confession, as I had never entertained the idea of Kate being a lesbian. She had mentioned once a short fling she shared with a girl in middle school, but claimed it had been nothing more than a cry for attention. We joked about this here and there, but I never thought she could have been lying. I didn't answer due to lacking a decent response, so she followed up by bluntly telling me that she is a lesbian and that she doesn't love John. I asked Kate why on earth she would marry him then, and she only said, "Because I think it's what I should do." I tried to talk to her more about this, but she then told me she would prefer the subject be dropped. At this point, I was counting down the hours to my flight home the next morning, and after hearing that John would be joining us for dinner, I was even more eager to get away. After meeting up with him, the three of us began walking into the restaurant, only for me to catch John's hand veering dangerously close to my butt. I shifted away, and he moved very quickly in an attempt to grab it. Luckily, I managed to jump to the side, leaving him with only his fingertips brushing my skirt. I told him to watch his fucking hands, and he just laughed again and made some kind of comment about my appearance and how he couldn't help it. Dinner couldn't have gone by slower. I sat there hardly saying a word, wondering if I should just try to get a hotel room for the evening. However, my stupid self decided that I could make it one more night and save the cash. I told Kate that I was very tired the moment we got back to her place, but she insisted that I watch our favorite movie together before I had to go home. Unable to say no, the two of us headed up to her room. About an hour into the movie, John came in and asked to watch with us. Kate told him, of course, and hardly 10 minutes passed before he started attempting to convince Kate and me to kiss. I said no repeatedly and just kept looking at the screen. Kate wasn't saying a damn word about it, and John actually started pleading with us to just kiss really quickly, so I told him to shut up and that he was ruining the movie. A couple more minutes of silence passed until John outright asked if I'd like to sleep with him. The way he went about asking made it seem as if he had deluded himself into thinking he was irresistible to me. I told him no and pointed out that Kate was sitting right next to me. I looked at her expecting some kind of response, but it was obvious that she had totally spaced out at this point. John informed me that Kate was fine with sharing him. He continued to badger me and insisted that I show him some appreciation for allowing me to stay in his home. I looked at Kate and asked her, "How the f are you okay with this?" She looked as if she was unable to hear me, staring straight ahead with dull eyes. I got up to leave, only for John to attempt to block the door. Mind you, I'm a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound girl being physically blocked by a very large man. I told John firmly to move, only for him to once again say that I owed him. I took my chances and shouldered my way past him. Luckily, he didn't do much but attempt to grab me as I exited the room. I gathered my things quickly and got a hotel room. Kate never even acknowledged what happened. I think she may be suffering from either John's abuse or some kind of mental disorder, which makes me feel bad for being angry with her. But I'm very angry that she sat by and did nothing while her fiancé was so aggressive with me. Kate is aware that I was sexually assaulted in the recent past, and therefore am sensitive to such pushy advances. I talk to Kate very sparsely now, and she doesn't seem to understand why. By coincidence, I happen to have accepted a role in an internship program close to the city where she lives. Within a month, I will be living in very close proximity to both her and John, and I need to figure out what to do. I want to help my friend. I'm afraid that she is experiencing abuse, living a lie by pretending to be heterosexual, and may possibly be suffering from some kind of mental illness. I have never been in a situation like this, and I'm at a complete loss. I don't want to see Kate after I move because that would mean I'll see John. Any advice on how I can help her and try to defuse this situation would be massively helpful. Edit, whoa, I just woke up and I had no expectations of this post blowing up so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the advice and support. Seriously, you guys have no idea how much it means to me. I've decided to talk to Kate. I'm nervous as hell because I have no clue how she'll react, but I need to reach out to her. She has been there for me during trying times in my life, and I want to be there for her. I know for a fact that John works tonight, and Kate will sometimes accompany him and just sort of sit there and be idle all evening, but I don't know if she's going tonight. I asked if she'd like to Skype this evening, and she responded with, "Why do you want to talk to me all of a sudden?" I told her I'd just like to catch up and apologize for being so busy lately. I haven't received an answer just yet, but I'll try my best to update tonight if we get the chance to talk. Once again, thank you everyone. I'll try to respond to as many comments as possible. I'm not receiving any good advice from those close to me, so this is insanely beneficial. Edit 2, Skyping with Kate tonight. She agreed a lot more excitedly than I had anticipated, judging by her previous texts. We chatted for just a little bit afterward, and oddly, she brought up the fact that she had recently watched Rush and commented on how hot Chris Hemsworth is. I was a bit thrown off, for obvious reasons, given that she had not only confessed to being a lesbian, but also told me verbatim that she's not attracted to men. Maybe I'm reading too far into it, so I just agreed that yes, Chris Hemsworth is indeed gifted and told her I couldn't wait to talk tonight. I'm still very nervous. A deleted user said, the way he berated and insulted her over the pregnancy scare was abusive. The fact that he was so comfortable making blatant grabs at you in front of her makes me think she's been conditioned and scared into not reacting. I am very worried for her. I think when you see her in person next, you should speak to her alone and be very honest about how extremely messed up that visit was. Tell her you are very worried about her. Ask if there is any way you can help. Do you know her family? Would it be worth speaking to them about it? User RWM said, it sounds very abusive. He wasn't even trying to hide it from you. You may want to consider offering Kate a place on your couch when you move in a month, or even suggesting she move in with you alone. This may seem extreme, but if you're okay with it, you could be a tremendous help for her. I don't think she was being an inconsiderate friend. From the way you described it, she was in La La Land. She was trying to escape her reality. Her confession of homosexuality may be an attempt to find a way out of the abusive relationship. Her lack of reaction to her fiancé's attempts at a threesome seems to stem from fear rather than a pre-planned discussion about them sharing you. Everything reeks of abuse in your story, and I hope you can help her. I would strongly advise against dropping contact with her unless it puts serious strain on you to keep up with her. If anything, I would suggest more contact, alone and in person, so your friend has someone to help her get out of this scary situation. As always, I will suggest therapy if you can afford it. Not necessarily for this, but for your own issues. I hope you and maybe your friend can get away from this creep. Update. So I know my original post is super old, but I received an invitation to Kate and John's wedding today. It reminded me of this whole thing, and more importantly, the fact that I never really thanked everyone for all your supportive comments and advice. Thank you very, very much. Plenty of people had been asking for an update, but honestly, I became so busy prepping to move that Reddit was not on my list of priorities. So on to the update. I went through with the Skype chat as planned. Luckily, I had successfully caught Kate alone. We made small talk for hardly a minute because my nerves were buzzing and I wanted to get this over with. I jumped right to it and explained to her why I'd been distancing myself, that John's behavior was seriously concerning. I listed for her the exact events that had made me feel uncomfortable for both her safety and mine. She listened in dead silence, as I'm certain this had not been her expectation for our chat. After I'd finished, I asked why she would want to spend her life with this man, especially since she'd confided in me about her sexual orientation. Kate broke down pretty quickly, and to sum it up, she's been in love with me since high school. I can't put into proper words how I feel about this part. Yes, as some of you had suggested, Kate and John had been trying to set up a threesome the entire weekend I was there. I asked her whose idea it had been, and she said it was hers, but that John was incredibly excited about the suggestion. She admitted to having planned the entire thing out with John before even inviting me to visit. She said they planned to see if the intimacy would come naturally and then try to initiate it if that were not the case. I asked her why she was okay with John acting so coercively, and she said he'd promised to make it happen no matter what after I hadn't caught the hint the past 2 nights. She said she felt desperate to be with me intimately and would do anything for that to happen. I asked her even if it meant having to force me, and she said maybe so, but that I would enjoy it eventually, that I would probably have just given in and she could join if John had followed through. Not gonna lie, this made me feel sick, but I set those feelings aside and told her very gently that I don't reciprocate her romantic feelings but still care for her as a friend. I told her that I feared for her safety and happiness and only wanted to help. Well, that completely flipped a switch. Honestly, I've never seen Kate angry. She's a passive person to a fault, but holy shit, did she lose it on me. Kate made a total 180 and began making accusations that didn't make sense. That I was trying to steal John away from her and that I couldn't have him. That his sexual aggression towards me was directly my fault due to how I dress and present myself. That all her insecurities are my fault because she has to put up with John talking about how I look and asking why she can't act more like me. Anyhow, she ended her tirade by telling me to kill myself, so honestly, I hung up after that. I feel as though Kate is dealing with issues that are far beyond my ability to assist with, and I couldn't continue speaking to her. My internship is over now, so I'm home and away from both of them. During my internship, they both attempted to contact me multiple times, but I always deleted the messages. Kate simply ignored what had transpired between us and asked why I wouldn't speak to her. Then John made a few jokes about kidnapping me. I only saw both of them once during my entire internship. I had the chance to attend a large pop culture convention, and I was seriously so stoked about it despite having no friends to go with. Luckily, I found a couple of girls on Facebook through my internship group page who were also looking for people to go with. I knew for a fact that Kate and John would be going as they attend every year. Plus, the costume I chose to wear was nearly unmissable, so I was certain they would notice me. But honestly, I was not about to let them spoil the event for me and went anyway. I gave the girls a rundown of the situation and they all assured me they had my back. Lo and behold, as I'm standing in an autograph line with my friend, John hugs me from behind. I basically went into spaz mode and flailed until he let go. The dick acted confused while Kate was right beside him, being quiet. I'd like to say that I told him off like a champ, but I didn't. I was scared, honestly, so I just ran. I was wearing massive heels, so I had to do that weird crouch move where you're not really running, but more so fast walking like a werewolf. A couple of the girls followed me to make sure I was okay. I never saw them again. I know the general consensus was to not cut Kate out of my life, but I honestly do not believe either of them is safe to be around. I feel that Kate is dealing with something beyond what I can assist with, and my personal safety needs to come first. Obviously, I'm not going to the wedding. Thank you for all the helpful advice and support I received on my previous post. This last post was made in the homeless subreddit by a user named Variety, okay. The post is titled, 16 years ago today, my son died homeless in an alley. As the title says, I am very sad. I kept asking him to come home. His brother asked him to come home. His ex-wife asked him to come home. His daughter missed him terribly and absolutely wanted him to come home. But his ex-girlfriend, the mother of his youngest child, had completely cussed him out and told him to never show his face around again, so he refused to come home. I did not know this part of the story until 2018 when I was housing her because she was homeless with my granddaughter. She told me then. During the year or so before his death, Kamala Harris's district attorney's office put him on probation for selling a small amount of cannabis to an undercover cop and warned him that if he left the state, they would extradite and imprison him. As a result, he refused to come home at that time. I will say I detest Harris, and while I've been a lifelong Democrat, I am very upset that Biden chose her. I will never respect her. It took us over 2 months to find out he was dead. A friend of his discovered it through the Social Security death database registry and called his ex-wife to let her know. She notified his brother and then the message got to me. We found out in late July. He had been staying with this friend, but they had a conflict that put him back on the street. He only lasted a bit over a month before he was dead. I haven't slept at all last night. I am very sad. The year after he died, the family was going to Cracker Barrel for dinner when a homeless man outside the restaurant asked me for change so he could get some food. I welcomed him to our table and fed him whatever he wanted. I wished someone had done that for my son at some point. The workers at Cracker Barrel were concerned and appalled until my friend, who was working there at the time, told them why. Then they were very nice and we received good service. I told the man that the only thing I requested in return was for him to call his mom. I last spoke to my son on April 2nd, 2008. I am glad he called and I know he realized he was going to die. He had told me he would be dead by the time he reached his 30s. He lived to the age of 31. He struggled with mental illness and alcoholism. There is so much more I could say about my son. He was a very loving person. He enjoyed poetry and won a statewide award for poetry reading when he was in high school. He was a good person who treated vulnerable individuals with love and care. He respected women and helped many people. He had a really soft heart, which he worked hard to cover with a tough exterior, but he felt things deeply. He died from bleeding out in his sleep. Some friends of a friend of mine were travelers, and they told me that dying in one's sleep is the best way to go. I was always terrified that someone would light him on fire while he was sleeping. I am grateful he had a peaceful death. The last conversation I had with my son is something I have held close to my heart ever since. If you still have parents living, give them a call. Let them know you are still alive and hopefully doing okay. I realize some people do not get along with their parents, but if there is any chance for finding love and peace, please reach out. My tears are finally flowing now since I wrote this. I have felt so numb. If you have read this and listened to my pain, thank you. User Turbulent Art said, "I'm so sorry. I am reading this, fighting tears because I fear this is my future. My son is a fentanyl addict with mental health issues and is only 20. He got into trouble early on with drugs, and by the age of 15, I sent him to his father's, thinking he would straighten him out. That is my worst regret as a parent in my life. His dad let him have free reign almost immediately, and what was supposed to be a few months stay turned into him never coming back. He got into hard drugs, started stealing, and then things got even worse. I can't even repeat all he's done. It absolutely eats my soul alive. I took him to rehab 2 months ago with the agreement that he would complete a 3-month program, get on medication and therapy, then move home and work with his stepdad. He lasted 5 days before he called and told me awful things he's done, saying he just wants to be high. He doesn't care how or where he goes as long as he can get high. The last I heard, he's been kicked out of 3 friends' houses. The cops came looking for him a week ago. He's stolen from all the Walmarts within 50 miles. I was afraid they came to say he's dead. I don't see any other way out for him. I'm so sorry to go on when you are sharing your pain and story. I wouldn't have ever had kids had I known the heartache they can inflict. May the next life have mercy on parents like us." User Fox Ritual said, "I'm very sorry to hear that this happened. It's pretty rough out here. I admire your kindness towards people who are on the streets. I am also on the streets and have been for over 5 years. It seems to get worse the longer I'm out here. There is a growing shortage of understanding for the people subjected to this situation. I cannot imagine what you are going through. I wish my mom would be as caring as you are. Instead, she is fine with me being out here on the streets. There should be more people like you with compassionate hearts. It's never easy out here."